Welcome back to Beat Nurse Burnout. I'm your host, Shan Wright, registered nurse, holistic practitioner, and someone who has lived the burnout story and came out on the other side with a mission. Today's conversation is incredible. Okay, so my guest, Dr. Chapa, is a doctor of chiropractic, a functional health expert who specializes in hormones, metabolism, and whole body wellness. And as the founder of Living Well Clinical Nutrition, he has spent years helping people restore their energy, reclaim their health, and build lives they actually feel good living through practical, science-backed strategies that work in the real world. But here's the thing that got me. He said that nurses are his best and worst clients. And y'all, we had to unpack that. So in this episode, Dr. Chapa and I dig into the very real tax that shift work puts on your body, your hormones, your metabolism, your sleep, your inflammation load, all of it. We talk about how to break your fast in a way that actually serves your body, how to set up your morning for holistic success, even on a crazy schedule, and the 70-30 rule. I really loved this one. And for those of you who are truly ready to get dialed in, we talk about what actually is possible for nurses with intentional rest and recovery on your days off. So spoiler, burnout prevention and recovery are more within your reach than you have been told. So this episode is for you if you have been tired of being tired and you're ready for some answers. Let's get into it. If you're done running on empty, surviving shift to shift, and feeling life fatigue, then you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Shan Wright, registered nurse, holistic life coach, and mama of 4, who found her way through burnout and anxiety to peace and purpose with faith-based practices and God's design for whole person wellness. Here, I help nurses like you recover from burnout, regulate your nervous system, reconnect with God, and discover your identity beyond the badge. Are you ready to start caring for you the way you care for everyone else? I am. Go reheat that coffee again, and let's beat burnout together. Okay, y'all, I'm so excited for this conversation. So we're going to get right into it. Dr. Chapa, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so glad to be with you and all your audience. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I know we've already kind of done some chit chat on the front end of this, and we are both just fired up and excited and already trying to rein ourselves in so that we don't keep everybody too long. So they're in for a treat.
Yeah. So I actually heard you on my friend's podcast, Holistic Health with Melissa, and you guys had a riveting conversation about Sabbath and resting. And I knew when I listened to it, I was like, I need him on my show with my audience who is they really struggle with resting. But we might get into that. We might not. Where I want to start is the fact that we did have a little conversation before this, and you said something that this is what we need to talk about to start. You said, my best and worst client is a nurse. And so I would love for you just to start there and describe what you mean.
Well, first and foremost, so when I say that, I want to make sure I preface it with, I have the utmost respect for the frontliners in the nursing industry because they are doing a very intense job at a lot of levels. Everything from, managing case files to, being told what to do, knowing that they might not even fully understand, this doesn't make sense, physiologically and what their own brain is doing, but they're following, the orders of their head, clinician or whoever's leading the charge. So one, I love you guys, you know what I mean, first and foremost. But the reason I say that is 21 years in practice, I have seen a lot of people coming into my clinic for a lot of different issues, everything from chronic fatigue to burnout, which you're very familiar with. That's a lot of what your show's, reminding people. You got to interrupt the burnout cycle before it happens. It's so much easier to prevent it than it is to pull out of it. Not that it's impossible, so you can't lose hope if you're there, but it's just so much easier. The whole concept of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure is always and forever true. Now, why is a nurse my best and worst client? Well, it's because that they either get it or they don't. Meaning they are so passionate about getting people the service and care they need that they will sacrifice themselves on the altar to their own detriment. That's when they're my worst client, because I
Yeah.
can't get them to see how to put their own oxygen mask on first when they're in the thick of it. And so in nursing or in just medicine in hospitals,
Hmm.
one of the things that I deal with in watching people, the worst industry to be in is a night shift cycle. When a person is on a night shift rotation and they're not getting circadian rhythms according to the ways of the world, the way the sun
Hmm.
goes, the moon goes, they are always your sickest patients. So there's a big
Hmm.
tax on your health whenever you are working night shift. So first and foremost, these nurses have to recognize that night shift is not a gift. It is a tax. It is costing you health points, missing hours upon hours of sleep. Then they're my best patient in that a lot of times nurses already know that medication upon medication is not the answer, and they know they're dehydrated, and they know that they're not eating like they're supposed to, and they know that they need to be told, hey, I need to be a patient too, what to do to take care of my health in the thick of day-to-day stress at the job, and then compound, stress at home. And when you start seeing night shift, when you start seeing locked in dogmatic old views that don't work anymore, and then you're stressed with your own world, your own like living world, it is a nightmare to pull through. Where do I fit me in the cracks of those times to help to my and benefit my health? So
Yeah.
burnout is inevitable at that point. And once they come in and they already have heart palpitations, I can't tell you, I would say like out of 10 nurses that come in to see me, like four of them will all have heart palpitations to a
Hmm.
pretty extreme degree. Some of them just have anxiousness, and I've got a few of them that their thyroid's jacked up and their hair's falling out and their weight's going up. But really, it's the heart palpitations. That's what really scares them. And
Hmm.
if they recognize that what their doctors are teaching their clients to do for heart palpitations isn't working, and they come in and we start getting their minerals back in alignment, getting their B vitamins back in alignment, heck, getting their water back in alignment. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with all aspects of Western medicine healthcare is like they're not fed well and they can't hydrate well. Well, how do you go on an 8-hour shift and not drink fluids? I mean, I got
Yeah.
fluids here. I mean, I have already had, well, almost 90 ounces of water, and it's barely noon my time. And people go, that's a
Hmm.
little excessive. Well, maybe, but I work out. I need water. I'm very
Yeah.
active. I need water. I think we underestimate how much we need to hydrate because remember, we're 70% water, or at least we should be close to it.
Yeah.
And these nurses are not. They're dehydrated. They're living on energy drinks to stay up through the night. They're living on processed food, make believe food. And this is what leads them to a place of illness and disease is because they're living on make believe food, which when you eat make believe food, the best you'll ever have is make believe health.
Oh, okay. Let me stop you right there for a second because I've been a night shift nurse. I feel like everyone has at some point in your career or other. And a lot of us, the dream is to get to day shift, but you kind of have to go that seniority ladder. But for the mom that feels like she needs to be night shift so that she can be there for her kids during the day, how does she do this when night shift is just going to make you sick?
Well, so like I said, it's a big tax, right? So as long as you first, it's kind of like if you know the rules of the game, you can learn to play the game better. And we can
Mm,
always get better. So I always say in nutrition, you can never be like wrong. You can only be more right. And
mm,
what I mean by that is, we all know that food matters. Like if you eat nothing but garbage, sooner or later you kind of wake up to the idea that you're eating sugar. If I had you fill out a food log right now and I had you assess your own food and you knew nothing about what I was going to say, you could go through and pick inflammatory, fake, processed foods, right? And
mm-hmm.
and you don't have to be a nurse to do that. You just got people know instinctively what real food is, what fake food is, what I call the no foods and the sometimes foods and the forever foods. And if we're eating 70%, so the mom that is on the night shift, if she can make sure that she is sticking to a 70-30 plan, or if she does have symptoms and she is at 70-30, she may have to be at 85. Like, she has to find that, how much good do I have to put into my body in order to offset the tax of just what she's doing working night shift. So that means if you are a night shift working parent that is a nurse, you have to support your endocrine axis. So
Mhm.
the nervous system and the endocrine system work hand in hand. So if the nervous system is not communicating like a good quarterback on a field, you get miscommunication and misfiring, and systems get out of balance. Same goes if the hormone system is not, passing, catching, and communicating effectively through all the beautiful feedback loops that are set up for buffers and protection, then the person is out of balance, and they both pathways, neurologically or endocrine wise, shifts a person into what we call accelerated aging. So if you know that there's a tax
Mm.
for work and night shift, then we go, how do we support the brain? How do we support the endocrine system? And so now we have to like go, okay, well, number one, let's just rate our brain health. Are we mental processing speed? Are we able to remember why we walk into the patient room or our house bedroom or our bathroom? Why do we go in there? Do we have names, numbers, and words? Are they working good for us? Are we putting together formulating phrases and thoughts? Do we make sense to ourselves and to others? This is all appropriate conversation communication, 101. I pass the information. Did you hear it? Did you hear it well? If there's a disconnect neurologically, I go, well, maybe there's a glitch. So like I always say, like when I'm in a treatment room, if my brain glitches even a little bit, if I just even if in this conversation with you, if my brain shifted and I go, where was I going with that? I would stop and I would take some ribonucleic acid. And ribonucleic acid is essentially blueprints, miracle grow for our brain, and it will turn our brain
Uh-huh.
on beautifully. Or acetyl CH, acetylcholine would be another brain lifter, right? So if and then so I would assess how my brain function is doing. If I feel my brain's doing good, then I would ask myself, well, how am I sleeping at night when my night is? So, like if you're a night shift worker and you're getting your day shift sleep, do I sleep? And do you get more than 6 hours? If you're under 6 hours, I know I have to improve that, because anything under 6 hours sets a person up for mental decline, massive mental decline. They actually
Mm.
accelerate dementia for every hour under, or every minute under 6 hours. So 6 hours seems to be the gold standard for baseline brain activity to repair, recover, regenerate, and for the brain to take a bath. So the brain does so many cool things for you while you sleep. And so if you're missing that 6 hour window, you're setting yourself up for yet another exponential tax. And that
Mhm.
tax is why you deplete B vitamins, why you deplete minerals. So like when people sleep, they don't realize it, but they're manufacturing B vitamins, they're manufacturing neurotransmitters so that their brain works the next day or the next shift. And so when we don't get good neural integration, we don't walk into the room with the right thoughts. We can't remember patient files. We're like, we should know this story. Like, I've been down this road. That's when we know we got to integrate. So then we got to
Mm.
go, okay, endocrine. So how's the sleep? How's the hormones? How's my cycle? Do I notice if it's a female, anytime around cycle time or ovulation time, are we misfiring in how we perform, how we our energy is, how our bodies, are we having headaches, not headaches? Are we declined and just kind of wishing we could get through the day? Anytime you're on a job, nobody wants to be on a job and wish it was 5 o'clock and they just clocked in, right?
Mhm.
We hope that we like what we do. You know what I mean? We hope that
Yeah.
we love what we do, but yeah, we definitely better like it, because nobody should be doing something that they don't like, or especially if they don't love it, right?
Yeah. Let me go back to where, you're like, burnout is inevitable. Okay, we know that. The easier thing to do is to prevent it. What are some ways that a nurse healthcare professional can start to prevent maybe they see that they're on the decline, as in fatigue is coming up, and they get to their shift and they're like, when is this going to be over? They're starting to see some hormonal changes. What can they start doing first?
Yep. So first and foremost, like if we did nothing more than just to assess our water intake, we should at least look at how much fluids we're putting in, how much in the form of electrolytes are we putting in. And I would even say breakfast, like what's the most important meal of the day? So their breakfast may be at 1 in the afternoon, right? Because I don't know what time they're waking up. It could be 5 p.m. So whatever their breaking the fast hour is,
Yeah.
and that's why I always try to teach people like food time is as long as we're eating inside of windows. So what I have found successful working with the shift working nurse is intermittent fasting windows. So this is a very common concept. And I remember the first time I taught this concept 18 years ago, I was at a NASA presentation and they were talking about intermittent fasting and what I thought about it. And so what intermittent fasting is valued at is it gives the body more time because the shift cycles are so off to clean house even while they're awake. So
Mm.
intermittent fasting is not days of no food, it's just a consistent timeline. So for example, if we were regular shift people, day like we're on the day shift, noon to 7, a 7-hour eating window, or noon to 6 would be a good window of time. And then you have essentially at that point a 17 or 18-hour fast for which you're not putting in food. Now you're still putting in fluids, you're putting in water or electrolytes or salts or minerals. And so I am a very big advocate for first and foremost, narrowing the scope of eating time. So you're still getting all your good calories, but then we give the body ample time to do apoptosis, autophagy, and all the clean out that is sleeping and or just when we are awake, not eating.
So
And
when
that
you say breakfast is the most important part of the day, you just mean breaking the fast. So if it's at noon that they're breaking their fast, that is the most important meal. Is that
That's right.
correct?
That's exactly right. And then not only so to up that one more notch, the first meal of the day should be protein rich, heavy,
Hmm.
heavy protein. And so, I mean, and in some cases, if nurse mom is already burned out, already feeling hormonal, already stressed out because she got a bad phone call from the school, because the kids you got crazy things happening and dealing with life and their hormones. Well, the first meal should be 100% protein, like literally, it could be chicken, it could be fish, it could be turkey, it could be shrimp, it could be beef, lamb, it could be any type of good quality protein, eggs, and then the second meal that they have could be where you integrate vegetables and the protein as well, and then again veggies and protein the third meal. So they can still get 3 good meals in their day. Now, if they're nurse and they can only get that first meal in the morning or that first meal that they're breaking the fast noon and then their dinner, well, that's protein and veggies is how I would roll that. And I would do my best to get them integrated into either a bone broth shake or a plant-based clean shake that is all about inflammation reduction and blood sugar stability. Because the more any burnout patient is stable in their blood sugar, the less they'll burn out. Protein acts like a good, healthy metabolic fire log on the fire, and it just burns long and burns hot. So it sets the tone. So if we look at it like this, they're shift working. And so their first meal of the day, whatever time that is, how they start their day is how they end their day. And so essentially, there's two fundamental important factors: how we start our day ends our day right, and then how we unwind into our night cycle, whatever that sleep cycle is also an important conversation to have in preventing burnout. So now we balance their blood sugar. We got them eating protein for breakfast, a protein for their breaking the fast, and a protein veggie as a second and or third meal, or a shake in the middle of their shift, so that they are still eating in this tighter window of time, which causes their body to use hormones to regulate metabolism, regulate stress, and regulate blood sugar That's how you prevent it. Because what happens is when they get stuck on these convenient yo-yo, insulin spike type diets, eating processed food, fake food, make believe food, that stresses the body yet a third time. So now they shift work, right? Now they're not getting good sleep. They're on their cycle, I guess a fourth time possibly if they're female, and now their blood sugar's all out of control. All of
Mhm.
those are a recipe for crashing for any human, but definitely for our shift working nurses.
I spent 18 months getting sicker before I finally got the real answers. No labs, no injections, a non-invasive scan that gave me a complete picture of everything happening in my body. Toxicities, mineral gaps, inflammation, gut imbalances, all of it. And for the first time, I had a holistic treatment plan I was 100% confident in because it was built entirely around my body, not someone else's protocol. I turned that experience into the Holy Well Intensive. I want to do the same thing for you. Go to www.theshanwright.com/Holy Well, WHOLLYWELL. Clarity is kindness. Be kind to you today. Yeah, that's so good. Okay, you just said the morning and bedtime routine. So besides food and nutrition, what are some practices that we can do to set our day up right and to end it well?
So I'm a firm believer in the early to bed, early to rise makes the man or woman healthy, wealthy, and wise. Right? That has kind of been my mantra for a long time. But my wife is definitely a night owl. Like so, for out of 10 human beings, you're gonna find that three of them, two to three of them, will be extreme night owls. One will be an extreme morning person, and then everybody else is on the bell curve throughout that cycle where they eat, they sleep, what they do. But one of my favorite books is the 5 a.m. Club. If it's a love story, it's a principled, moral, ethical story, and it's a leadership story, fable, teaching, practical applications. So, first thing out of bed in the morning, before your feet hit the ground, First Thessalonians 5:16, 17, and 18 says it all. It says, pray without ceasing, rejoice always, and give thanks, for this is the will of God for you through Christ Jesus. So first, know where your help comes from and find your place of thankfulness. No matter what thought comes next, rewire it with, I am thankful to be alive. I know that God's on my side. I know I have his best. I'm going to pass the test and I'm going to be, covered by the blood of Jesus. He's going to, and I seriously, this is a things I do in the morning before my
Yeah.
feet even hit the ground. I'm covered by the blood, and I plead the blood of Jesus over my life, my wife, my kids, our health, our wealth, and our future generation. This is
Mm.
a statement of faith, confession of faith. And Hebrews 10:23 says that we should do this every day. Let us hold fast our confession of faith, get this, without wavering, for the God who has promised is faithful. So I think really and
Mm.
truly, first and foremost, the best vitamin we can take every day is vitamin J, Jesus, in order to make sure that before our feet hit the ground, before we look ourselves in the mirror, before we smell our own breath, we should give thanks and rejoice always. That's step one. Then, number two is we need to drink water and salt.
Mhm.
So I use a wellness salt. It is from Premier Research Labs. It is Australian and Hawaiian mixture. It's from 2,500 meters below the sea, and it is sun dried to a point where they have tested it, and it has over 80 to 100 trace elements and trace minerals. So just because a person buys a pink salt does not mean it's a good salt. If you have a
Mhm.
salt from Pakistan, Poland, or Germany, 9 times out of 10 it is a garbage crap salt. And we want to be mindful. If you put chemically based salts in, they can be very harsh on your body. If you put
Mm.
quality rich salts in that have been proven to give you those extra trace elements, trace minerals, and you put that with an electrolyte drink, you put it straight in your hand, like a quarter teaspoon, throw it back, suck down 6 ounces of water, you're now electrifying your gut
Mm.
lining. You're waking it up. You're priming it for when digestion starts, even if you don't eat for 4 or 5 more hours because you're doing your intermittent fasting, you're still waking those tissues up and priming that digestive system to operate. because within 3 hours of waking up, one of the best health assessment tools ever is, did I have a bowel movement? That means, did I go poop? I know people don't like talking about it, but it's
Us
natural.
nurses, we love talking
Oh,
about it.
I know, I know. And so for sure, within 3 hours of your day, you best be having a bowel movement that you're proud of. Fawn colored, fluffy floaters, about a foot long, is a great way to assess, right? And so again, so now we've done our morning command statements. We've drinking salt and water, or and then I go for a walk, for about 15 minutes with my dog. So within 32 minutes, and this is my day, we are on a walk, and we go for about a 15-20 minute walk, and I either listen to scripture, or I listen to a sermon, or I just listen to the morning birds, and it just depends on kind of what I feel prompted and led to do in that space. That's kind of like
Mhm.
my morning time. So within 45 to 50 minutes, I have already consumed 8 ounces of water. I've already walked for 15 minutes, and I'm just letting my lymphatic system begin to move. I'm giving the
Uh-huh.
body not this rushed 5 minute zip to the school line and rush the kids. And when you start frantic, going back to that statement earlier, how you start your day is how you end your day. If you start your day frantic, it's oftentimes going to end frantic. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so this is, again, no one was designed to be stressed out metaphorically or physically or literally in any shape, and for any length of time consistently or continuously. We want to give the body time to wake up in a reasonable fashion. And a lot of times when you start your day in this way, you have now you can go do an exercise regimen. You could do a just self-care therapy, dry brushing. You could do some jumping jacks. You could do some push-ups, and you could do some very little things for another 15 minutes that are a little bit more intense, and your body's ready for it. And if you go ahead and knock it out and flood the body with good blood flow from top to bottom, inside out, and then drink some more electrolytes and water, guess what's going to happen? Your body's going to cleanse itself from all the detox from your sleeping cycle, even if you slept during the day. Because some people go, well, if the liver's most active between 1 and 3 in the morning, do I get the same detox effects when I sleep from 1 to 3 in the afternoon? I'd say, well, yes, you do. Because when your body goes into that sleeping space, it's going to take advantage. Thank God that you don't have to flip the switches. Your body knows
Yeah.
how to get it, what it needs to get done, completed. But what happens in the accelerated aging curve, if we don't do these necessary extra practices consistently, you're not as efficient at getting them done, which leaves you with a paperwork trail. And that paperwork trail gets us all at some point in time in our lives. But that's what puts people on the accelerated aging curve, that leads them towards burnout, leads them towards symptoms that they weren't genetically born with, whether it's fatigue, headaches, palpitations, hormone glitches, rough
Mm.
menopause, all those things that shorten the career of of nursing, really, because you can't handle the workload anymore. What you could do in your 20s, you're now not doing at the same rate in your late 30s or mid, 40s or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you said consistently. So I want to ask, so, most nurses, I don't know actually the stats on this, but typical shift is, if your day shift 12 hours, you're 7 a to 7 p 3 times a week. Okay. So would it be okay? Because I can hear her saying already, like, well, I already have to get up at 5 just to make it to work on time. So what about, oh, I'll do that morning routine. It sounds amazing on my days off. Is that going to benefit her if on the work days she is, waking up, taking a shower, rushing to work and working those 12, 13 hours, and then just on the other days doing this routine?
Yeah, so I think it comes back down to the 70-30 rule. And if she is getting the good sleep, she can afford those little bit more rushed mornings. And we have to remember, thankfully, we do not have to be perfect. on all these things. We just have to control what we can when we can, as often as we can.
Yeah.
And so if we lock ourselves into perfection, that is another layer of taxed stress, because now
Hmm.
we're worrying about worrying ourselves to death, if you will. We are striving and becoming a human doing instead of a human being. We really do have to regulate some of that, which again, uh, understandably, we as adults, we all want to wear that T-shirt that says, "I don't want to adult today." You know what I mean? And but yes, if she was on 3 or 4 days out of the week, she was really dialed into an exercise routine because she had more time, or she had time to go just sit and talk with some of her girlfriends, or if she had better, prayer time in her to herself on those more slower paced days. As long as, just like we talked about on our other podcast, is rest is important, as long as she's leveraging those days as a rest day and she's not letting, even though she's off, turn into a frantic, hectic, rushed, overwhelming day. And so it's all about, again, just making sure she takes advantage of those days and capitalizes on them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because definitely, I mean, I was not a mom of four at the time that I was nursing, and my days off were still like, they're busy with a lot of things, and so I can see it being like, okay, well, the one day I am doing all the sports activities, the other
Mhm.
day I am doing all the errands, and then it's like, well, where is true rest coming? So let's go there. Explain a little bit the importance of rest and why God
Yeah.
designed it for us.
You set me up beautifully because I didn't want to, miss the one part of your question about what's the bedtime routine. We talked about the morning
Yes.
routine, right? And so the resting cycle in the night routine is, my wife just finished. So we homeschool our kids. We have 4 kids, and we homeschool them, and we are very classically minded, meaning we like classic books like Narnia, Lord of the Rings, the Bible, all of your gold backed, fairy tale books, like some of the rich classics of our age that, and they do, according to many philosophy teachers and professors at university, say the classics teach a person how to think, which by definition is the hardest thing to do in all of life, is learning how to think and to discern and make decisions. And classics teach you to do that because typically they show you stories of people's lives. Well, she just finished Narnia, and she goes, the third book was so rich to see the beauty and wonder of God. And I was like, wow. And it was so much so that I haven't read all the trilogy. So that's one of the sleepy time routines at nighttime, especially when mom is rushing to get the kids to bed on time, because she's doing it to find her space, right? She
Mm-hmm.
needs some unwind time. And unwinding, by the way, with sleep aids and unwinding with wine does not give you better quality sleep. It does make you tired, but it doesn't give you that depth of recovery and regeneration. So, okay, let's just real quick. Side note, the alcohol rule. Dr. Chapa's alcohol rule is never back to back days, no more than twice a week, and never, ever, ever on a day that you've gotten kicked in the teeth or gotten hurt. Okay.
Mm.
Meaning you've been offended or you're mad or agitated. If you followed those 3 principles, you would be able to indulge from time to time respectfully to your body, because
Mm-hmm.
it is a poison. I mean, there's no doubt about it that you wouldn't, in good conscience, put salt in your gas tank or sugar in your gas tank. That would just be foolish. Well, alcohol is essentially putting the wrong fuel in and expecting a good return. So
Yeah.
that is not a good way to unwind. So if you had a rough day and you feel like you got kicked in the teeth, that is not a day you get to participate in such beverage. And you have to recognize that if you're using sleep aids, it's because you're on the fast track of accelerated aging heading towards burnout. So what
Mm-hmm.
you want to do is you want to start thinking, all right, let's talk about nutrition again. Minerals, minerals, minerals. Minerals are God's tranquilizers. So magnesium and calcium are the most abundant minerals in the body. So if you cannot fall asleep for more than, if you put your head on the pillow and inside of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you're not out cold, your minerals are low. If you crawl in bed and you're crampy in your body, crampy in your legs, and I'm not talking Charlie horses like, good Lord, and screaming to the top of my lungs because of the pain. I'm talking about that just subtle agitation in the muscle fibers that you're like, why is I can't read? All I can think about is my calf doing something. If you shouldn't ever feel your heart palpitate, you should never feel the muscles grinding on something. That is a sign of deficiency. And so those are two very big indicators. I can't fall asleep at night and I can't stay asleep, or I can't fall asleep because my body's agitated. That is a classic indicator for magnesium mineral deficiency. So I always come alongside and say, what can we do to give people rest in that? So this could be where you take a calcium magnesium supplement. So I use calcium and magnesium lactate. They're very absorbable, very easy. People like today magnesium threonate because it's very parasympathetic. It lowers us into a restful digestive state, a detox state, and a healing state. And every hour that you can get your hiney to bed before midnight, you get 3 times the amount of growth hormone, which means you get 3 times the amount of healing, repair, recovery, regeneration. And so, reading a book with actual pages, not your Kindle, not your phone, and hearing the pages turn, feeling the pages, the psychology is such that it begins to bring you into a restful space. So, being okay, turning the TVs off, turning the screens down. As a matter of fact, putting the screens and the electronics with away from your bed. 5 feet is best if you're going to leave them in your room at all. And the reason for that is because the electromagnetic stress of Wi-Fi or cell phone signaling, heck, if you need to make sure that you have no breaker panel outside your bedroom. So for example, let's just say I'm in bed. If my wall here, this is the breaker panel, that is a wall that I got to figure out how to deal with, because the electrical impulses from the house electricity panel can draw minerals out of your body, rob you of B vitamins faster than anything, which will then over time disrupt your sleep, meaning now you're sleeping 6 hours, but you're not getting growth. You're not getting that HRV healing time, that heart rate variability check that a lot of these monitors look at. You're not getting deep recuperative sleep. And so essentially, look at what we just talked about. Like, your room is your sanctuary. And if your room is not set up correctly, you are not setting yourself up for good rest. So at nighttime, for me, I take zinc at nighttime before bed. I take magnesium threonate before bed. I also do the calcium magnesium lactates also, but lately I've been tinkering more with the magnesium because I work out a lot, probably a little bit too much, one of my personal problems. And so magnesium seems to rest those muscles more quickly than just simply calcium magnesium together. And then I also take a probiotic at bedtime. So why would I do that? Again, remember in the beginning I said you can never be wrong with nutrition, but you can only be more right.
Yeah.
If you load up on your quality zinc at nighttime, your probiotics at nighttime, and your magnesium at nighttime, you're not only setting yourself up for a better night of sleep and rest, you're also setting yourself up for better digestion tomorrow. Wow. So now, full circle, okay? We started our day right to end it right. We primed our night in order to get the best quality sleep for the max growth hormone potential for health and recovery, so that tomorrow, when I do indulge in the foods that sustain me and to develop me, my body says, I got the resources to break that protein down. I got the resources to manage the blood sugar throughout the day. I got the resources to control stress when stress gets cray-cray, because life is always going to throw a curveball. And we,
Yeah.
in our preparation, meet the opportunity of the day with success, not defeat.
Yeah. Okay. So I have this question that's like just been swirling since you said it like a couple minutes ago. And I don't know who this is for, but I just feel like I need to ask it. And we need to talk about it for a hot second because I think it's for someone. So you said, about reading and reading a good book, feeling the pages turn and all of that. And I just thought, I feel like there's a lot of toxic books out there that midlife women like to indulge in and think that that's like a restful thing to do, or it's like an entertainment
Yeah.
before bed. And I just want to put that out there. Like, what
Yeah.
kind of things should we be filling our mind with before bed?
So you can find a crust of bread in a garbage can, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And so we don't want to be reading, any type. Look, the old saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're putting in things that are inappropriate, that are violating your morals, ethics, and values, that are fantasy in a weird kind of way, I kind of feel like maybe you're going that direction. Find again those classical, rich, timeless
Mm-hmm.
materials that feed your soul, that literally put you into a space where you're in a good headspace. Like watching horror movies at nighttime, reading horror books at nighttime,
Yeah.
reading I'm just mommy porn at nighttime. Like anything
Yeah.
that stimulates the type of activity is not necessarily, I believe, rich for the soul. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe God really wants us to control. Remember the old little nursery rhyme or the Sunday school message? Be careful, little eyes, what you hear. Be careful, little eyes,
Mm-hmm.
what you see. Not just little children, but even for us adults, because we're all, especially when we're under great stress, we are all looking for comfort. And so we have to be mindful. Are we worshiping the God of comfort, or are we worshiping the comforter who is God in helping us navigate our circumstances? And so you always want to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Is what
Yeah.
I'm about to read, listen to, feeding my soul or entertaining my flesh? And there's nothing more than the spiritual warfare of the day, the devil and his talons of busy being under Satan's yoke that wants to destroy you. The Bible says that the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. He's going to rob your family. He's going to rob your relationships. He's going to rob you in every way he can. Not because he doesn't like you as a person, he hates God and
Mm-hmm.
you're in his way. And so understand that whether you are a believing Christian or you're not, you still are under the authority of someone. And if you are putting garbage material in and you're the, kind of the God of your own kingdom, it may leave you wanting. And we all have a deep yearning to understand like the eternal life. We all have a
Mm-hmm.
wonder and curiosity. And that's, I think, we can explore through healthy reading material, healthy friendships and relationships that are leveraging us onward, upward, goodward, and Godward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just looked at the time, so I hate to say this, but we've got to wrap this up. I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime, because there's just so much goodness here, and you're just a wealth of wisdom. So tell the listeners where they can get in touch with you. What kind of services do you provide?
So we give people alternatives to drugs and surgery, and we teach people how to live better, be better, stay better through food choice, life choice, and just the very principles that we talked about today, like how to start our day, how to end our day right. So all the social media platforms, Instagram, Dr. Chapa Wellness, Dr. Aaron Chapa on Facebook, and I'm on, the YouTube. I've got a Monday night class that we do every week to educate people how to live their best, be their best. And if you just go out there and type in Dr. Chapa Wellness Nutrition in most Google searches, you should find me pop up on the Google Blueprint. So I am very, social media friendly because I want to get this information out. I'm really thankful to be a part of your listening audience because the reality is you, sister, are making a difference and you're bringing a message of hope to people. And I look forward to just seeing where we get to go from here. And I look forward to doing a show again and look forward to the, collaboration because when like minds, the Bible says where one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. And I want to be those people that are going big and making a dent in the generational line of our time.
Yes, yes. Amen. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you definitely poured into these nurses today and healthcare professionals, and they feel encouraged. So thank you so much. And we'll do it again.
All right, Shan. God bless you guys. Y'all have a fantastic one. And remember, Dr. Chapa loves you.
I pray that blessed you, and it would bless me big if you would share the show with a friend or write a review. It will only take a few minutes, and it's the best way for people to find the show too. I would love to connect over on Instagram at @theshanwright, or you can email me hello@theshanwright.com. And until next time, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace. Shalom.